One. Hi, everybody. Anthony Torres. I'm the campaign strategist based in New York City for Sierra Club's Living Economy program. And really, I've been doing a lot of the Green New Deal work here at the Sierra Club, and really excited to be here with you all. And I'll pass it for an introduction to Chelsea.
Hey everyone, my name is Chelsea. I'm based in Washington, D.C., and I'm an organizer with the Sierra Club, and I've been really excited to launch this mobilization this August, so I can't wait to keep working with y'all. And let's go to the next slide.
Oh, there we go. Oh, there we go. Sorry about that, folks.
Okay, I'll say something. I'm Bill McPherson in Seattle Unitarian Universalist Church. Seattle.
Awesome.
And the Sierra Club XCOM for Washington State.
Welcome, Bill. We're going to have a bunch more intros. We don't have time to go around, so I want everyone to pause for a moment and look at our intro question today that we'll be doing in the chat.
Okay.
No worries, but great to see you, Bill. And thank you for, I didn't know you were Unitarian Universalist. That's awesome. I was also raised UU. So today.
They just passed a Green New Deal resolution supporting the Green New Deal.
Amazing.
Church. Yeah.
Great. All right. I'm going to mute folks because there's some echoing I'm hearing already. And let's use the chat box. So while we get to know each other, I see some of you all have already put your name, where you're from. Please continue to do that, but also put something in your nature or your community that represents growing a Green New Deal to you. So go ahead and use that chat box, as Anthony showed us how to do in the first slide, and type to everyone what represents growing a Green New Deal to you. I put a picture of sunflowers here because they are both very adaptable to different environments. They actually remove toxins from the soil, which is pretty cool. And they're also food and beautiful. And I planted them in my little tiny plot of alleyway land in DC this year. And so those are something that's symbolizing this growth to me. I'm seeing people in the chat box coming in from Arizona, Seattle, Oakland. People keep on coming and answering this question if you can. Awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and type this. Yeah, thanks, Sandy. This question in the chat box, so you can keep your responses coming. And let's keep moving, and we can keep an eye on the chat box.
Awesome. So thanks everyone for your responses. So I want to go over the agenda we're going to have tonight. So we're first going to overview our Growing a Green New Deal mobilization and just again reiterate the ways that you're going to be able to take action with us this August. And then we're going to go into, specific to this webinar, is understanding some of the key federal issues that the Sierra Club is going to be lobbying on as a part of this Green New Deal vision this summer. So we're going to dive a little bit deeper into what legislation and what asks we're going to have for our members of Congress in these coming days and weeks. But I'm going to go into some of the creative ways, creative tactics we're going to employ during these drop-bys, and some art and some social media that you can also deploy with your lobby and in-district visits. We're going to have some time for breakouts, some questions, and next steps so that you have all the resources you need to fight with us this summer. And I'm going to remind folks to please mute when you're not talking so we can make sure we don't have a lot of background.
Oh, Anthony, but I muted you by accident by muting everyone.
Okay, sorry. Well, I'm gonna pass it to Chelsea now to share a little bit more about what you all be doing in district this summer.
Awesome. Also, I think someone was somehow able to draw on this slide within Zoom, which is a very cool feature. But that's why there are some blue lines on the slides. But they're not bothering me. Okay, so welcome everyone. As you all know, you are here because we are going to be taking action this summer. The gist of it is that this August, our members of Congress are going to be back in their home districts for the whole month, which is a really huge window of opportunity to make sure we meet with them, we reach out to them, and we are in their offices and bringing them our movement's demands. So we're going to make sure they hear from us. And we have a really exciting plant-based Green New Deal themed twist to our drop-bys and lobby meetings, which we'll go into in a bit, which is that our members of Congress are home this summer, and as they come home, we are thinking about how we want them to grow the Green New Deal, what seeds of policies, of changes, of future visions that we want them to sow. And so to symbolize this, we are asking everyone, you don't have to, but please do, and please lean into this creative option to bring something that symbolizes growing a Green New Deal. So maybe I would bring sunflowers or wildflowers from the side of the road. Maybe you have a garden or there's a garden nearby that you could bring that represents food justice in your community. Maybe you like medicinal plants and you have some herbs you could bring, or seeds that represent native growth in your community. So as we go to meet with our member of Congress and ask them to please grow a Green New Deal, we're going to be dropping by with these awesome garden goods to symbolize what we hope they will do, which is grow this future for us, grow an economy that will sustain us. So you'll see there's a little picture of a basket of zucchini or a summer squash that I put on the slide. Awesome. So great. So what is a lobby visit or drop by? Basically, this is not necessarily common information, but it's actually really important for us as we think about what a true democracy would mean and what engaging with elected officials means. So your member of Congress, your Congress people have offices in your home district. So you don't have to go to Washington to talk to your representative or your senator. You can actually meet with them often really close to home. In a few states, I know that isn't the case. And so, you know, we might have to talk one-on-one about what that looks like if it's far away from you. But most of you, if you look on your member of Congress's website, and we can help you find that, you'll see there's an office really close by. And you can actually schedule a meeting just as a constituent yourself. You don't have to be a representative of a group or anything. And you can get a one-on-one meeting with that member of Congress or their staff person. And so you can just do that by going to their webpage. So when we talk about a lobby meeting, that's what we're talking about. Another option is if maybe you're not ready to do an in-person meeting, or maybe you're just not able to get a meeting, you can actually just do a drop-by. So you can just go by the office during business hours and ask to meet with someone right there. And we run through all of this in our toolkit, which we'll get to soon. And you can say, I'd like to speak with the district director, the person that covers environment. Again, we'll cover this in our toolkit, and have a meeting right there on the spot and drop off these materials. So you can drop off your zucchini or your wildflower or your seeds, and also the lobby materials that we will provide for you. And so again, this is just a brief overview right now of what we mean when we're talking about lobby visit and drop by. And all of the step-by-step guides are in our toolkit, and we can also talk more about it on this call. Great. So to paint a picture of that, I want to pass it over to Marissa, who's going to share a story of a drop-by she did that turned into a meeting with the senator.
Hey everyone, my name is Marissa. I use she, her pronouns. I work at the Sierra Club doing digital work with our youth chapter, the Sierra Student Coalition, and supporting our Green New Deal organizing. And Chelsea asked me to come on and share a story about a drop-by visit that I did this past February. So I live in Oakland, and outside of work, I also organize with Sunrise Movement around Green New Deal. And in February, this was just a few weeks after Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Senator Ed Markey had introduced the initial resolution for the Green New Deal. And during that February recess, which was just a week long, a much shorter recess, we were part of organizing a similar but smaller call to encourage everyone across the country to go talk to their representatives to urge them to sign on to this resolution. And we went to Senator Dianne Feinstein's office, a bunch of young people with Sunrise, and partner organizations, other youth groups from around the Bay Area. And we actually didn't have a meeting scheduled with her. We had reached out to her office and hadn't heard back, but we went with a pretty good sized group of people, but hadn't heard back. So weren't even expecting to be able to meet with her, weren't even sure if she was going to be there. But what ended up happening is that one of her staff people came out to meet us and invited us up to the office, and she walked out. She was there. And we ended up having a conversation with her that we recorded on video, and was a really, really powerful moment that ended up getting a lot of coverage on social media, and was this really incredible interaction between youth activists asking her to support the Green New Deal, and her, hesitation in doing that. And I think the thing that I want to emphasize is just that even though we didn't know it was going to happen, we had kind of thought through some scenarios. We knew what we wanted to say. We had, like a couple people who were especially ready to speak, and to, they had all their talking points ready. And we knew what we were asking for, and we were able to hold our own in that conversation, because we had done just a little bit of that prep work to be ready, even if it had just ended up being with her staff people. So just wanted to share that, to kind of illustrate that you never know what's going to happen, and it's really great to go, and sometimes things develop, whether or not the representative is there. And yeah, I'll pass it back to you, Chelsea, to take us through the rest of the training.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, I see some great stuff in the chat too. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think that's a really cool story, as Marissa just said, that first of all, they made a plan, they prepared, they were really intentional about who was in the room, who was going to speak. And so they were able to kind of prepare for the unexpected. And so when they did have this meeting with the senator, they were ready to hold their own, as Mo just said. So I think that's a really inspirational story of, why even do these drop-bys, if you don't even have a meeting, and actually you don't know what could come from it. It could totally shift the public narrative. And so that's a really inspiring story to me. So this is just a quick refresher, and we can talk more about this too in other spaces or at the end of the call, but why do we lobby? And I just want to do a quick, why is this important? So first of all, your elected officials serve you. You definitely deserve to be in, as they say in Hamilton, the room where it happens. These are your elected officials, so you should not feel like you are imposing on them when you go meet with them or talk to them. You are actually helping them do their job. Also, elected officials are not experts on everything. I'm not an expert on anything. None of us are experts on anything, and that also includes your elected official. So if you're someone who's super into a specific policy that you think needs to be a Green New Deal, then don't assume that your elected official already knows that. I know a lot of people, especially with Sierra Club, are actually the ones bringing some expertise to this legislation. So, important. Also, research does show that in-person visits are much more influential than other advocacy strategies. So if you're sitting at your computer and doing a ton of amazing advocacy, emails and phone calls, that's great. That's really important. And actually just doing an in-person visit is a lot more effective, and congressional offices themselves have reported again and again that really these in-person visits are what sways them, are what leaves an imprint on their mind. Now imagine doing that visit with a basket of zucchini and tomatoes. You can imagine it will be even more of a big impression and memorable for the staff. Finally, or two more things, in-person meetings provide you and your local team an opportunity to build relationships with local staff. If you're someone who's really interested in advocating for local and national policies for the long term, these relationships are crucial. I know many of you on this call can attest to having a personal relationship with that staff as leading to having more effective meetings, more frequent response times. And that's just really important as far as building a two-way communication channel within our democracy. And finally, these meetings also provide you valuable information about the official, regardless of their stance. So let's say this is someone who you are campaigning against all of the time. They are horrible. They vote against everything you want. Well, maybe when you go into their office, you can hear their talking points. How are they talking about this issue? And also what's important to them. So what is in their office that shows what they value, and how can you make a strategy around that? So you should be thinking about these visits not only as just a chance to push someone, but also to learn about their stance and be a really smart organizer and lobbyist and advocate to sway that official in the future or hold them accountable. Go to the next slide.
Okay, so thank you so much, Chelsea and Marissa. Now we're going to dive a bit more into what we are exactly going to be advocating for this August. If we're going to make this vision of a Green New Deal a reality and grow it this August, we need to continue shifting what is possible and what we need to start activating popular support across the country and in your communities, but around specific policy solutions, around the specific pillars of a Green New Deal, which include 100% clean energy and clean electric vehicles. So starting this summer, members of Congress are going to be unveiling several pieces of legislation that fill in the details of how a Green New Deal could be achieved with 100% clean energy for all, and for supporting communities on the front lines of climate change, a revival of clean manufacturing and transportation, and creating family-sustaining jobs in the millions across a new clean energy economy. And so this August recess is going to allow all of you the opportunity to meet with your representatives to advance these pillars. And during this period, again, we're going to be lobbying on these, specifically these two bills. One is going to be advancing the 100% clean energy economy, and another is going to be providing incentives to electrify our automobiles across the country. And to advance this vision, we need you all to be lobbying in your districts, as well as getting your community, the public, the media, and your members on board as well. And so though this August we will not be specifically lobbying on the Green New Deal resolution itself, we're rather going to be focusing in on how do we actually achieve that broad vision that brought so many people into this movement and that really changed the game on climate change. We're going to be now focusing in on what are the specific pillars and solutions that Congress can take now in order to advance that vision for climate justice and a Green New Deal. So now I'm going to pass it over to our federal policy lobbyists and my colleagues here at the Sierra Club, starting with Matt Gravatt, to share more about, first, the 100% bill.
Sure, thanks, Anthony. Hopefully, I think we need to move one slide forward here. But thanks to everyone for joining. Really happy to be here. My name is Matt Gravatt. I'm the Deputy Legislative Director at Sierra Club. I work on clean energy and some of our work on stopping oil and gas development. As Anthony and Marissa and Chelsea have said, this is a big opportunity this summer to engage with our members of Congress when they're back home in district over the August district work period or recess. Those face-to-face meetings with your members of Congress are incredibly important, and this is a real opportunity for you to build that relationship, but also to talk about key policies that are critical to advancing the vision of the Green New Deal and moving us forward when it comes to a clean energy economy, creating clean energy jobs, and leaning into real solutions that will take on the climate crisis. So the bill that I'm going to talk about is the first one that we will be working on this summer. It's a forthcoming bill that Representative McEachin of Virginia will be putting out, and it deals with moving the United States towards a 100% clean energy economy. So why is this important? We're seeing deadly hurricanes in the southeast and floods in the Midwest, wildfires and droughts out west. And everywhere across the country, Americans are speaking out and they're demanding climate action, louder and more importantly and more urgently than ever before, because they're living with the catastrophic effects of the climate crisis. And so to avoid those worst effects of the climate crisis, we need to move towards rapidly a 100% clean energy economy that's just and fair and works for all, and set climate pollution reduction goals that are aligned with the targets of the Paris Agreement and the urgency that the science demands. This forthcoming bill that Mr. McEachin, Representative McEachin, is putting out, and others like it, would establish strong climate pollution reduction targets, in this case by 2050. It would also prioritize input from scientists, justice communities, frontline communities, and labor groups, key partners in this effort to ensure a just and fair economic transition towards a clean energy economy. Interesting here and important to note is that this bill is in the early and discussion stages. So this is a really actually huge opportunity for us to speak with our members of Congress and ask them to get involved. And that's what our ask is: get involved. Reach out to Mr. McEachin's staff, engage with that office, engage with other members of Congress to call for clear action that moves us towards a 100% clean energy economy with clear pollution reduction targets. So that's what we're going to be doing. We'll be asking members of Congress over the recess to join with Congressman McEachin and other climate leaders in Congress to become an original co-sponsor of that bill. Importantly, what this does is build on a couple of key pieces that we're seeing moving all across the country. We've seen commitments to clean energy in Hawaii, California, the District of Columbia, New Mexico, Puerto Rico, Nevada, Washington, Maine, and New York. New York was just last week. And this builds on those commitments. It takes that local and state-based conversation and takes it to the national level in a big way. So again, a huge opportunity for us, a really powerful bill led by a powerful champion on climate and justice and equity in Congress. Mr. McEachin is leading an effort to include and make sure that environmental justice is at the forefront of climate legislation and has been a true champion on climate. So that's where we are with this bill, and we're excited to have you all engage in helping to make it a success.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. So we're going to have a chance for some questions about these pieces of legislation in just a minute. But first, we're going to go to my colleague, Will, to discuss the electric vehicles legislation, which will be our second main. So I'll pass it.
Great. Thanks, guys. Apologies for not being there online on video. I've had to call in due to some connection issues, so I hope y'all will be able to hear me well. My name is Will Anderson. I'm on the federal policy team in the Washington, D.C. office, and my focus is for the Clean Transportation for All campaign. I'm here this evening to discuss H.R. 2256, also known as Senate Bill 1094, the Driving America Forward Act. It's a bill to basically extend the EV tax credit. A little bit of background about the EV tax credit. The federal EV tax credit has bipartisan roots and is an important consumer incentive that accelerates the adoption of electric vehicles. Basically, currently, the EV tax credit, existing tax credit, is a per automaker manufacturing cap. Each auto manufacturer is allowed to basically have a EV production line of 200,000 vehicles that meet the federal EV tax credit, which gives a $7,500 tax credit to consumers of those EVs. Since there is a per manufacturer cap, some auto manufacturers are getting close to hitting that cap if they haven't already. So we want to continue to provide consumers with an opportunity to purchase an electric vehicle with a tax credit and further stimulate the marketplace so that EV adoption becomes the norm. But by providing consumers with a $7,000 EV tax credit through the Driving America Forward Act, raising the cap from 200,000 EVs to 600,000 EVs per manufacturer. This bill is, as I mentioned, bipartisan and bicameral. There are Senate sponsors, as well as this being led by Congressman Kildee in the House. And it would also help out working families, in addition to reducing greenhouse gas emissions, creating American jobs, as well as increasing American competitiveness while saving consumers money at the pump. For all these basic reasons, Sierra Club is very supportive of this bill, and I'm happy to go into further depth should there be any questions later on during that talk.
Thanks, Will, for sharing more about the electric vehicles legislation. Just for folks who know, EV is shorthand for electric vehicles, and we're really excited about this and the 100% legislation coming up. And so I want to emphasize before we go to questions that these are two pieces of legislation. There are actually probably going to be more unveiled over the next coming weeks, and there are also going to be other issues at the federal level related to our vision of a Green New Deal. And so this doesn't mean you can't talk about other issues. And actually our team here, as well as our coaches and our resources, are set up so that we can make sure to support you in any of these legislative acts you would like to make of your member of Congress this summer. But especially we want to emphasize these two pieces that are going to be really critical to what our movement can accomplish this summer. So next we're now going to go to the question and answer. So I'm actually going to go and look at the chat and see what folks are drumming up here. I know some of these questions can be actually answered in the chat, but let me see what's in here. See, a lot of them are being answered by Matt and Will in the chat, but let's see the other.
Oh, I have something to say to one of the questions. It's a really good point, and Matt could maybe talk about this too. So someone said our rep is already a co-sponsor of the bill. So this is something we get a lot, which is that my rep is already in favor, so there's no point in going, or my rep is never going to be in favor, so there's no point in going. It's actually really important to also thank your member of Congress and say, we saw that you supported something we like. Thank you for that. Please keep the good work up, because that is just as much a part of this accountability work as being upset when they do something wrong. And so this action, this type of drop-by or lobby visit, is really relevant no matter where your member stands. It just means your strategy might be different. One of my favorite actions I've ever seen was the Massachusetts Sierra Club chapter having a thank you party for Senator Markey after unveiling the Green New Deal resolution in the Senate with a cake and party hats and big banners. So it can also be sort of a boost of spirit and relationship to also have a positive visit where you're thanking them.
Yeah, I'll just reiterate what Chelsea just said, because I think it's so important. Like, we have over 100 reps who have signed on to the initial Green New Deal resolution, just to use it as an example. And truly the only reason that happened and that amount of momentum drove that number of sign-ons was because our representatives knew that people were going to hold them accountable if they didn't sign on, and that they would be celebrated if they did. So at this point, for whatever it is that we're lobbying about, it's so critical that we go whether or not we think that they already did and there's no point. It's so not true. And this is like one stage in this fight, and there's going to be the next stage. So kind of continuing to keep that pressure on is such a critical piece. So that's why I'm really so excited to see all of you on this call, and it's so important that we're doing this August. So just wanted to reiterate that.
Thanks so much, Chelsea and Marissa. And thank you to Matt for answering a lot of the questions. There are two here I'll read aloud that we'll go through before going to the next section. One of them is, are there regional records of how well particular states are doing in terms of progress on the environment, on climate change, on conservation? And I'll actually send that over to Matt, because I believe that there's some of our campaigns, like Ready for 100, have been tracking some of that progress in the states, as you mentioned.
Absolutely. So there's a number of state commitments. As I mentioned, North Carolina, my home state, not one of them, but New York was the most recent to lay out a 100% in clean energy vision. New York joins Hawaii, California, and the District of Columbia in having the most progressive and rigorous clean energy legislation in the country at the state level. And there's a host of other pieces of legislation that have been advanced at the city, municipal, and county levels as well. That information is available on our website. I can pop that into the chat for folks in just a moment when I find it. But our Ready for 100 campaign does track that information. And as I said in the discussion of the bill that Mr. McEachin is offering, what we see as a key opportunity here is taking those conversations which are happening at the state level, the local level, the municipal and county level, and really bringing them to the national forefront. As you all know, really leaning into and advancing this clean energy transition, thinking intentionally about climate pollution reduction from key sources of climate pollution, be they all across the economy, but from the electric and power generation sector to the automobile sector, thinking about those is important. And this national conversation that's going to be driven by this bill is really important. But I'll put that in the chat box, and so folks will be able to see where we've been tracking those individual commitments. I hope that answers your question.
Great. That'd be great, Matt. And just for folks who are joining, yes, we'll have a recording of this call, and we'll also have in our lobby toolkit, we'll have leave behinds for these pieces of legislation. The last question we'll take right now is one about going back to what I mentioned earlier, how there's going to be probably other legislation opportunities out there. But a question from Drew is, does either bill or are there bills right now that are focusing on protecting public lands from fossil fuel development? And I'll throw that to either Will or Matt to touch on.
Drew, I just started to answer your question. That's a great one. And the answer is yes. And there are a host of other bills that are much more responsive to that issue in particular, dealing with not only reforming the way that leases for extractive activities on federal and public lands are dealt out in the process there, but there's some legislation which we'll also be working on separate from this effort, from this current mobilization that we're discussing here. We have another one that's really focused on those land pieces, particularly on oil and gas and extraction on those lands. And around leasing of public lands. I'm more than happy to follow up with you for that with that information, and we can also engage you in that effort too if public lands is something that's important to you. But as a general matter, talking about a clean energy transition, we really have to also think about what U.S. policy is with regard to leasing and mineral activity on public lands. Essentially, these are our resources and they're on our land. And if we are to be responsive to the climate crisis, we have to reduce pollution, and those are key sources of it. So all of this kind of fits together, but that's something that we can go into in greater depth, and I'm more than happy to share a list of those bills with you, and maybe Chelsea and I can team up and connect you to our organizer, Rachel, who's leading that effort in parallel to this one over August. That's a great question. Thank you very much.
All right, well, thanks everybody for answering the questions as well as placing them. We'll continue in the chat to answer more of those questions, but right now we're going to move into some of the creative tactics we're going to employ for this Growing the Green New Deal arc, some creative stuff that you can do during these lobby visits. So I'll pass it now to Chelsea to just say more.
Awesome, yeah. And definitely keep the questions coming. I know that Matt and Mo and others will be in the chat responding, so don't hesitate to get it in there. All right, so in addition, I've already touched on this a little bit, but I wanted to share a little bit more about what Drop By with this added creative tactic can look like. We've actually made a little template postcard that you can print out, and you'll see it says, I'm growing the hashtag Green New Deal by, where you could put some of the things that you already started sharing in the chat, things that you're working on, things that you're fighting for. So you could say, I'm growing the Green New Deal by fighting for 100% clean energy economy, or by meeting with my member of Congress today. So you can feel free to be creative with that and print that out and use that both for your photos of the visit, but also with whatever garden goods you decide to leave with you. So I put a picture here of maybe some raspberries. I know there's a lot of raspberry bushes on the East Coast at least. And so maybe if you decide to pick some of those, and when you want to take a photo of it, you can print out this postcard, fill it out, and then please tag us at the Sierra Club so we can find it and use this hashtag Green New Deal with the caption Growing the Green New Deal. So there'll be more. This is all in our toolkit, but just something to start thinking about is it's also really important to take some good photos of this, because we'll be using our digital tools, our digital platforms to amplify all of this work. Go to the next slide.
Sure, and right before I go, I'll also add that there's another thing you can do with the social media creative tactics here, and that is you can also tag your representative. In the photos of your delivery, photos of your visit to the district office, or even just using some of the materials we're sharing in our toolkits. In addition to tagging the Sierra Club and using the Green New Deal hashtag, you can also tag your elected representative. I think almost all of them probably have a profile or a Twitter handle. And so on social media platforms, usually that means doing the @ and then adding their name or their profile. And that's a really good way for you to showcase to their office the public support for the issues we're demanding for them and the excitement around them. So I'll add that there, and we'll keep going.
Awesome, cool. And this one, I won't touch on this too much because it'll be more of a digital push, but I'm really excited about this. We're also going to be really encouraging folks to get creative again. We're trying to bring some joy and play into this work. And we're going to be doing a project with foraged art. So if you look at the screen, those on the phone, you can't see it right now, but you'll see it in the slides. Basically, it's like a collage that you could make from natural items you find around your neighborhood, your community. And this is actually one that was just made yesterday by an organizer with Sierra Club on the screen right now. And so we'll be using this artistic tactic to also post on social media and tag our member of Congress and ask them what they are doing to grow the Green New Deal. And so we'll be talking more about this on the media training, and it's in the toolkit, but I just wanted to get everyone a little bit excited, give you a sneak preview to start thinking about, if you're an artistic person, how this could play into your work with your community. Great, keep going. All right, so with that, I'm gonna launch a poll where we can both get some more information from you. So what are you interested in doing? I'm seeing a ton of people in the chat say they want to go with other people in their state. That's amazing. We can definitely help make that happen. Obviously, it will depend on the other people we connect you with being also excited to go. But yes, we can definitely work on connecting you with folks in your state. And another thing we can do is, there's a bunch of coaches on this call. Shout out to all the amazing coaches here tonight. We can also connect you with a coach for some one-on-one support to help talk you through your action plan and answer questions that you might have. So I'm going to launch a poll. I don't think those on the phone will be able to take it, so I'm sorry about that. But you'll be getting a follow-up email from us, where we're going to ask you if you want coaching support, and also if you how you're planning to take action. So if you just go ahead and start filling that out, y'all should be seeing a poll on your screen. Awesome, I'm seeing some people fill it out. And let me look at what else we have in the chat. Another note I see is to also take pictures with your member of Congress and senator. Absolutely, definitely do that. Thank you. And yes, people are really wanting to coordinate. This is amazing. We will definitely be able to help connect you with folks. But also, even if the people, you can also start thinking about who you can go with, who in your life. So do you have friends or family? Is there an organization that you really like that you want to reach out to? You can also think about other people that you could reach out to within your personal networks to build some community power and do this visit. So great, please keep the poll answers coming, and I'll share them in a little bit as everyone fills them out. I'm seeing a bunch of people planning to do a lobby meeting and go with other folks. Awesome. Some people are just planning to do a drop by. That's great. So remember to be prepared before you go. Be ready to share a local impact of the policy or a personal story. That's sort of what we've been doing here today. A lot of you have questions about the members' voting record. Definitely do that research before, and we can help you find their voting record as well. And then have a clear ask and provide helpful information. So it can be really overwhelming. There's so many things we want our government to do and they need to be doing. But we try to keep it really clear and simple to help guide the conversation. And so you'll notice in our toolkit, which we'll show you in a minute, there's a leave behind that's a very specific letter from Sierra Club. So please print that out and bring that with you, because that will ensure that your message gets across to your member of Congress. It can also help anchor your conversation and is just an important part of the visit. Great. So let's move to the next slide. Cool.
All right, so now we're going to do a brief breakout of folks into small groups. And this is going to be an opportunity for you all to speak with just a couple other fellow activists and share a bit more about why you care about the Green New Deal and our push for a 100% clean energy economy. It's also going to be practice for one of those lobby visits. And so what you're going to do is you should pick one of the issues that we talked about today and take a minute to think about why it's important to you, and go around and practice sharing why you care about these issues and how they connect to your local community. The person sharing will have 1 minute. The listeners should listen and not yet give a response or reflection or questions to them. Just listen to the other person in your breakout group share, and then switch roles, and you'll do the same process. So this will be for a couple of minutes when you can practice sharing and expressing why you care about these issues, and treat it as if the other participants are your members of Congress or the folks in that office. So now we'll go to breakout rooms.
Yeah, great. So take a moment to think about this. I'm going to push a button and you all will be sorted into breakout rooms. If you are on the phone, you should be unmuted automatically, so don't worry if you're not. If you're on the phone, push *6. If there's someone in your room whose audio isn't working, I'm sorry. And if your audio isn't working, just try to listen. We'll put 3 to 4 people in a room together, so there should at least be a few of you who your audio is working and you'll be able to have this conversation. We'll come back in 4 minutes. And please stay on. This will be a really great opportunity to do some practice, and then we'll hear how it goes. So bear with us as we try this out, and enjoy your conversations. So you should start seeing a request to join a breakout right now. So you should start seeing a request.
So please keep entering more reflections in the chat. We're going to hold on responses for now and start heading towards wrapping up the call. I'm going to share my screen again for the final parts of this presentation. So you should all be able now to see my screen again. We just shared through some of the chats, so continue sharing in there, and I'll pass it back to Chelsea to share about some of the resources you can depend on for support this month.
Yeah, awesome. Wow, I'm really excited to see all the chats coming in, and thanks everyone for sharing and doing those breakout groups with us. So we're gonna kind of breeze through this part, but just please use our toolkit. I'll put it in the chat, or if someone else can do that real quick, it's at sc.org/lobby toolkit. And this is where we'll have everything from your step-by-step guide of how to do a drop-by, how to do your visit, to the actual lobby materials and fact sheets that some of you requested. I think you can go to the next slide. So, for example, we have this letter that's a very official letter from Sierra Club about those 2 bills we talked about today, signed by the executive director himself, Mike Brune. That's also in the toolkit and will be really one of the main leave-behind materials that we'll give you that you can print out and bring to your lobby visit, in addition to a few other resources in there. So sc.org/lobby toolkit. That's really like starting tonight. You should be opening that up, saving it somewhere on your computer where you can find it. And that can really be a guide as you start planning your visit. And we'll keep updating it also as we get new resources, new materials, new ideas. Good slide. And finally, this slide doesn't look that exciting, but it is. Please always report back. We are using a new system that should make it really simple for you to report back. This is also in the toolkit, but we need you to tell us if you did a visit, both to help us tell the story of what we're doing at Sierra Club, what people are doing across the country to mobilize to grow a Green New Deal. And also people like Matt and Will really, really value your feedback and your input. So if your member of Congress told you something that they wanted to learn more about or whatever they said when you made those asks, please report back because that actually can inform our federal policy strategy. So I can't emphasize enough the importance of reporting back and letting us know you did this. It's a very easy URL, but you don't even have to memorize it because it's in that beautiful toolkit I just talked about. And this is what the page will look like. I tried to put it in so it'll look less scary. Reporting will be less scary. It's very simple.
So right now you're seeing just really amazing artwork that's been coming out from like a collective of artists putting out some pieces and popular education on the Green New Deal. And so before we close, we continue off this webinar answering your questions and supporting you. You're going to have the staff on this call and others to continue to answer questions, including specific ones related to your member of Congress. You'll also have a team of coaches available to you for online support. You can see all of the resources we've been mentioning on our website, sc.org/recess. Our toolkit also has its own link that you can see there that includes all of the materials from the leave behind to information on the legislation to some of the fact sheets. And you can also, before your meetings and even afterwards, you can have the one-on-one coaching support. So those of you who would like coaching support, you can sign up to have another volunteer activist like yourself, someone who's done this a bit more before perhaps, give you some more tips and advice about how to make the best of your lobby visits and organizing this August. And lastly, we can also help make connections to folks near you. So I know you all are already organizing, and so we encourage you to bring your friends, your neighbors, your family, also plug them into these organizing and these visits this August. But we can also help you connect with other Sierra Club supporters, especially in your district this August. If you have special urgent requests or even just some specific questions and you need a point of contact, you can email Chelsea. Her email's right there. And before I pass it off for any other closing thoughts, I want to really emphasize that you can do this kind of advocacy all year long. August is a major opportunity because members are home for a long period of time, and this is a period where we have a huge window of opportunity to show them a grassroots energy around our vision for a Green New Deal and all these pieces of legislation. But these are skills and advocacy that you can flex across the year. And so this is an amazing opportunity for folks who are experienced and those who are just starting this organizing for the first time. So I'll pass it now to any of the other presenters for any last thoughts.
Awesome. Yeah, I think there might be one final slide, and I'll just share the polling results with folks. So awesome. So it looks like 30% of you do want to go with other activists. Awesome. Another 30%-ish will do drop-bys. And some of you are still deciding, which is great. Coaches, we have 23 folks who are ready for coaching, so we'll be making sure to pair you up really soon. And then 25 of you are all set. You think the toolkit's great. So again, I hope that all of you on this call will consider taking action with us this August. We have a full month to do it and a lot of different ways to participate, whether it's making foraged art and posting it on social media or having an awesome group of people go do a drop-by visit.
Amazing. It's so exciting to see all the folks signing up to take action. And so many of you are either, there's a good amount who are first timers, a good amount who are experienced, and many of you are bringing your neighbors with you. Again, reach out to Chelsea with questions on some of the lobby and creative tactics this August. You can reach out to me about more general questions about the Green New Deal and about national policy and work. And if you have questions that go beyond those two areas, we can also make sure to connect you with our colleagues, including Matt and Will and Marissa here on the call. So thank you so much for all of you taking the time this evening to join us for this webinar. It is recorded for those you'd like who joined late, or if you'd like to share it out with others. And again, you can go on the website sc.org/recess for more of these resources and being able to look through them yourself. And if you sign up for coaching, if you did so, we're going to be following up and pairing you up with a coach very soon. Thanks again, everyone, and enjoy the start to your week.